We're gonna go over what I wore on the PCT in 2017 on my body. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Emory. Thank you for joining me. Today we're gonna go over what I wore on the PCT towards the end of the trail in 2017. And I know, it's a little bit late and I apologize, but I had things to do. We had a baby. So as you know, backpacking is a process and I had a ton of iterations. I wore a bunch of stuff, or tried a number of things that I felt didn't work. But when I crossed the border into Washington, I had roughly 500 miles left to go. I wanted to try a streamlined system. So this is actually every single thing that I wore through Washington for 500 miles, and I loved it. Going forward, I'm basically just gonna build on this system that I had, depending on the conditions that I'm going into. So, as you'll find out, I wore shorts and not pants. So if it's too cold outside or whatever, I'm gonna be hunting and going through the brush a lot, I'd probably swap it out for pants. But everything else basically just gets thicker or lighter depending on the climate or the place. Let's start with undies. If you don't already know about EXOFFICIO, you're gonna want to. These were recommended to me by a buddy of mine. I actually brought two of these at the beginning of the trail and swapped out to just one pair of underwear. They make various lengths and obviously sizes, but I kind of chose one that kind of boxer brief essentially, so there wasn't any chafing between my legs. I never got chafing. In fact, some of the guys that I was hiking with were getting lots of chafing. I told them to swap it out and try the EXOFFICIOs because they're a little expensive, but I had them try it out and they loved it. So if you have a problem with chafing, get the longer ones. Don't get briefs because it's not good. And if you're chafing, oh my gosh, it's terrible. It's really bad. But yeah, EXOFFICIO's awesome. They're like this mesh. You can wash them off in the creek. They dry very, very fast. They don't stink. Again, one pair of underwear all through Washington, Oregon, and probably Northern California as well. Next, over the top of the boxer briefs, I wore New Balance running shorts. These basically are the most basic pair of running shorts. They have a side pocket, and these things were brilliant. I cut the liner out of them because I don't like the liner. So I had these on top of my EXOFFICIO underwear, and they were awesome. And I loved walking and hiking in running shorts. It just, when I sent my pants home in Northern California, it was the best thing I could have done. Just the freedom that shorts allow. If you're not going off trail a lot, shorts are just great, especially if it's not in the sun too much. But just toss on some sunscreen and you're good to go. Next to my skin, I wore an ICEBREAKER t-shirt. This is merino wool blend. It still has the elasticity of a normal non-merino shirt, but also has the properties of a merino shirt as well. So it didn't stink super bad, and this thing carried me all through Washington. I had it on the trail often, a lot, but I wore literally just this every single day all through Washington, and when I get into town, I just wash it. And it's still in pretty good shape. On top of that, an ICEBREAKER merino hoodie. I think this is also a blend. Nothing super special. It's a hoodie. It's a little bit thick. I don't recall the weight of it, but it's not super thick, but it's not really thin. It's a nice layer to have on top of the t-shirt in the mornings while you're going, and it's got a hood. I've become a huge fan of hoods, and it has a nice deep chest pocket for venting. Oh, and it has thumb holes as well. If I needed extra warmth, I would toss on this MONT-BELL thermo wrap, I believe it's called. This was given to me by the program I hiked with. It does not have a hood. I wish it did have a hood, and I wished it was warmer. This thing is extremely, extremely thin, and in fact, when I was cold and I wanted to bundle up, this thing had a really hard time keeping me warm. I've heard that from other hikers that they really, really love it. I can't say that I hate it, because I think that it has a purpose, because you don't really need a heavy jacket if it's not going to be super cold out. But if I had to do it again, I would just get a little bit thicker insulated jacket, and that is not down, it is synthetic. On top of that was a rain shell. This rain shell is from CREWE, and I wore this through Washington and I think Oregon as well. I had originally a Mountain Hardwear shell that sucked really bad. This is a really good quality rain shell, and it's super light, really thin. It's got some pockets, and I pulled it out just a couple of times, but basically it was an additional layer to cut the wind, and this worked really good. On my legs, if I was cold in the morning or cold at night or just cold in general, I had Nike thermal running tights. You can kind of see it's not, some of them come with, they're like one solid piece of fabric, and others come with that mesh. Anyhow, these were really great. I hiked with these in the morning, but honestly, I didn't really use these too much because you're hiking 25, 30 miles a day and you warm up anyhow. So these were basically just an emergency if it was gonna be really, really cold out. So those were great. This is a cycling cap from ROTHERA, and it was given to me by a buddy of mine who is a cyclist, and he's like, I thought it had a really cool flower pattern on it. It was kind of neat. And I was trying different hats out on the trail. What I love about this hat is I kept trying to find a hat that had a really small bill, or had a bill, but basically it was just like a bandana style thing because I'm bald. And I have a really hard time with sweat, just like hats dripping sweat and just really being uncomfortable. So he gives me this, and this thing has the most amazing sweatband. I wore this through Oregon and Washington every single day, and I absolutely love it. It looks kind of dorky, and I know that, but what I love about this hat is that it's up. You can put your hoodie on, and it doesn't feel awkward. This thing, I love it. I take it every single time I go backpacking, and it is amazing. I love this thing, and I basically just put my hoodie over top of it. Need some sunshade, flip that thing down, flip it up. It's great for hunting. It's great for everything. I love this thing, and the sweatband is amazing. So if you're bald, you're gonna want to check this thing out. On my neck, I had a CREWE neck gaiter, merino neck gaiter, not a big deal. On my head, I would put this over top of my cycling cap, but I'd basically sleep in this First LITE merino beanie. Super awesome. I think it's like a tag cuff beanie is what they call it. On my hands, I had fingerless wool gloves that were super cheap. I think these are 10 bucks. And 2 pairs of socks. I would swap them out if one got wet. And that is it. Literally, that's my entire layering system. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. And if you don't already know, I have a podcast talking about how to backpack better, bring on all kinds of guests. So check that out. You can reach me at byland.co. But hit me up. I'd love to get to know you. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. I would love advice. If you have a layering system that worked for you, I'd love to hear about that. If not, enjoy the backcountry, be safe, and we'll see you next time.